Going back to January 2017, the school committee approved a capital projects plan of $85,045,000. That plan was part of the stage 1, stage 2 application we RIDE last year. We sought the city council support by February 1st of last year, or last fall, 2017, in support of the $85 million as part of the stage 2 submittal to RIDE for housing aid, and it was tabled at that point. We've learned that the $85 million capital plan, from our perspective, is what the school committee has endorsed and is their capital plan, and we have been moving that forward under a new stage 1, stage 2 application process for this year. Over the last 3 weeks, we have had 2 building committee meetings. First was to reintroduce the concepts of what needed to take place for stage 1 application. And then the second one was held recently. It was on October 4th, where the building committee had offered to have community members, city council and school committee members attend a meeting to hear in depth some of the changes that have taken place in the Rhode Island Department of Ed with regards to the stage 1 application process. In particular, the state has completed and has publicly released their facilities assessment report that's referred to as the Jacobs report. And we've been using that Jacobs report as a benchmark with regards to what the $85 million capital program needs were, as well as any additional programmatic issues that may be identified. And from that, I'm here this evening to say that I've provided you with an extensive amount of information about your $85 million program that you've approved. I am under the understanding that we're still moving that forward, so I'm going to skip over the bulk of the information that deals with the $85 million, and I really want to jump to 2 pieces of information. Near the tail end of the report, different from last year, we're going to have to provide all stage 1 documents that we provided last year, but in addition to that, we have to provide an updated summary master plan, which basically presents the volume of square feet available that's in the district, what our instructional capacity is, what our projected enrollment figures will be 5 years from now, and here's the new cue that we need to speak to this evening. Within the Jacobs report, they've assigned what they call aspirational capacity. And aspirational capacity, for the ease of understanding, is as simple as this. Elementary schools under RIDE's model will now be required to have an auditorium dedicated, a cafeteria dedicated, and a gymnasium dedicated. So the multi-purpose room concept goes away under the aspiration. They're aspiring to have all this dedicated space in the school. They're also aspiring to have a science classroom and a music classroom and an arts classroom. So those are the aspirations. And under that model, the average square foot per child at the elementary level is 180 square feet. And why this becomes important is that RIDE is going to be looking at our $85 million capital project proposal. And they have announced that one of their goals is to have newer and fewer buildings and communities. And so if there's expenditures to be made into older buildings, and they believe that that building shouldn't have dollars invested in it, they're going to be looking at and possibly denying housing aid for projects that communities are offering to renovate buildings they think are too old. And my takeaway that was a little disheartening is they're telling folks in the community that an existing school that has a square footage of 35,000 square feet at 350,000 square foot could be replaced for $12 to $13 million. But what they're not really clearly telling the community is that current building may be serving 250 or 300 students, which our architect, SMMA, when they did the analysis, did it on instructional space capacity and said that that building could in fact house 200 or 300 students. So there's a discrepancy between instructional space and aspirational space. And because of that, if we were to build a new building, we would need to can take those 300 students, multiply it times 180 square feet, and build a building that now is 48,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet bigger. That will translate into, if they're saying that the building could be replaced for $13 million, but if we got to build a building to accommodate those students, it will be $17 or $18 million. And there's a disconnect, I believe, in the community. So what I have is a summary report. The top half shows where the school committee, under its approved capital plan today, just executing the repairs that we're talking about, we would have in this district 1,394,000 square feet of instructional space for students. Under our analysis, instructional space capacity, 12,900 students can be accommodated in that 1,000,004 roughly square footage. Our projected enrollment in 2023, using SMMA's crop report that went out to 2035, we are projected to have enrollment numbers of about 7,900 in the district. Jacob's report, by taking that 1,394,000 that were proposed, says that the aspirational capacity is only 7,600 students, meaning their determination is that we're going to be 315 students over, where we're saying that we actually have about 5,000 student capacity availability for instructional purposes. I broke it down by high school, middle school, elementary school, and preschool. And as you can see, the aspirational capacity at our high schools after consolidation actually are in line with our projected. The issue that's before us this evening is this. The elementary schools have an aspirational capacity in excess of 670 students. RI is now going to be looking at our application, and I have been informed by RI that they will be scrutinizing and using the Jacobs report as a benchmark. And the possibility exists that when the leadership of RI looks at our $85 million number, they may draw a line and say, your elementary schools are over the aspirational capacity, and therefore we're going to push aside your elementary and tell you to go back and reconsider how the district would handle those extra 600 students, and we're only going to consider your high school and middle school bond requests or capital requests going forward beginning in April. And so I present this evening because I'm requesting and or recommending, but I'm looking for guidance, and I don't have a personal opinion, that in order to address the elementary level issue, the real easy mathematical model is this. All we need to do is add so much square footage to accommodate 680 students. I'm recommending or proposing for discussion that rather than closing Randall Holden, that you reopen that and add 35,000 square feet. That would still leave us short by 86,000 square feet for the numbers of students that need to be served. We need to add close to 120,000 square feet to the community in order to achieve RI's aspirational capacity. So my point is that I'm suggesting that we could build 2 new elementary schools, because if we built just one to pick up the balance, we would have to build an 86,000 square foot elementary school someplace to accommodate close to 500 students. And my 5.5 years of being on community leadership consolidation committees, going back to the days when administration did it, and then we ended up having a committee where we had community members come forward, and then we engaged SMMA. So we've been doing this for 5.5 years. And this community has said we want small local elementary schools in our community. And so with that backdrop, I would then suggest that we have 2 40,000 square foot elementary schools. But for our purposes this evening, this is strictly a mathematical issue. Square footage times $350 a square foot to build new, and some number, and I'm suggesting that looking statistically at the Jacobs report versus what we've been proposing under the 85 million, that we take rides deficiencies of Randall Holden, which is 5.8 million, we're averaging about 60%, 63% of what RIDE has been saying we need to invest. So I'm saying $3.7 million going into Randall Holden and $30 million to build 2 new elementary schools. That would mean we would need another $33.9 million worth of bonding on top of the 85 million. If the school committee were to entertain this evening, we would redo our application to RIDE over the next 2 days and inform them that we're exploring how to address the aspirational capacity issue. And I think it's important that either you as a school committee make a decision this evening saying we cannot pursue 33.4 because the city doesn't have the fiscal capacity to do that, but at least I can put into the plan that the community weighed in, because now this will be the second time. We had the building committee on October 4th, we now have a school committee meeting. We had 2 public conversations about this issue. If you folks said, no, let's have a dialogue with city council, I would write the report to RIDE saying, we're going forward with $119 million worth of bonding requests, absolutely staying focused on our 85 million, and then to deal with aspirational capacity of 33.9. If the city council says we cannot afford to do that, or if the voters say in the future that we cannot afford to do that, or if we have more public hearings going forward between now and the first of the year, and we hear back, we can then feed that to RIDE at our stage 2 level, saying, here's what happened over the next 3 months after we step forward, and here's why we're not able to sustain buying the additional space, and so please consider our whole 85 million. It's not one person making a recommendation, it's a community effort making a recommendation, and then let them say that they won't entertain our program, of which I think we have leadership both here at the municipal level and at the state level that says, you know what, the community can only afford to do this, and we want all of our students taken care of. We cannot afford to just build 2 elementary schools and accommodate 480 students. We've got to accommodate 7,900 students. Your original plan is the way we're going to achieve that. So that's what I'm presenting this evening for further conversation. The second point, so we don't lose sight of it, I think once you make your decision this evening, that we would authorize the superintendent to seek an appearance before City Council, hopefully as early as November, if not December, and we give us an opportunity to present our recommendations as a group to the City Council so that if they need some time to deliberate, we can get us a solicitation of approval for our stage 1 sometime in January. If we wait till January and they have issues that they need rectified before considering it, we may not be able to get back to them. If we don't hit February 1st, we cannot go forward with bond request November 2018, and we will not have any dollars available for capital projects for this community for a long time coming. All of our existing bond monies have been spent. Our operational dollars are tapped out. We are not carrying surpluses like we've typically been doing the last few years. So this is a critical moment, I think, in our point in time.